everybody, hope everybody's doing well. This week I decided to talk about trainings, specifically involuntary detention, which is also 50, which is also called 5150, and another one is called TerraSoft. So just a reminder, my field placement is at Citywide Focus, an outpatient mental health clinic in San Francisco, California. Recently, earlier this week, I received a training on involuntary detention, where we discussed what considers to be involuntary detention 5150 and the procedures on getting assistance in that if we feel that our client needs assistance, if they're harm to themselves, harm to others, or gravely disabled. Harm to self can be due to command hallucinations or any form of wanting to harm themselves physically through weapons, cutting themselves, or overdosing drugs. And harm to others, the obvious is physical abuse or whatnot, or threats, making threats or wanting to kill other people. And you see that it's there has been multiple incidents where the client may or has a high possibility of wanting to harm that individual or gravely disabled, where they're unable to care for themselves, visibly that they're dirty, or they haven't eaten in days, or not able to get food or whatnot. So when we see that, we are able to 5150 those clients, bring them to the psych ward, psych emergency services to see if they're able to get into the inpatient unit and to get stabilized, and possibly get into a lock unit, depending on their situation and their symptoms, of course. But this training specifically discussed 5150 and various ones to 5250, where it's, the client self-presents themselves to the psych unit to receive services, because either they hear voices they cannot control or whatnot, or they know that they're going to harm themselves physically. So that was definitely an interesting training, because in California, if you do call the police, they do ask if you if you're certified to 5150 somebody. I personally have not experienced that situation, but if I have, and my colleagues actually asked a clinician who has that card to assist them in the process, which is just you fill out the form, state the situation, the client's information, provide as much information as possible to the officers and to the psych ward to see how they could best help them. Unfortunately, nowadays, with limited resources, the clients go into the psych emergency services and they're out within a couple hours once they're quote unquote stabilized, according to the doctors there. It's because there's so limited resources, they just want the clients in and out, you know. So it's rare to even have clients go into the inpatient unit. Another thing that the training discusses TerraSoft. TerraSoft is actually where you need to notify parties that if someone is are to harm them. So it's actually a law to have people to notify others if they're going to be in danger, especially if they've disclosed in session. So 5150 and a TerraSoft can happen at the same time, but not necessarily lead to one another. That's what I learned. So it's very fascinating to have these trainings that can be used in further in the field too. It's of course, I do not want to have another person's life in my hands to see if especially involuntary detention. But sometimes if you remind yourself that it's for the safety of the client and the people, then, it wouldn't be as bad. But ultimately, I think 5150 is a good it can be a good thing if we're protecting the client and others. So my question to you guys is, like, have you had any interesting training so far at your placement that you feel that you would use down the line in your career? All right. Thank you. Have a good weekend.